What's up, traders? If you're new here, welcome. If not, welcome back. Amidst the Bitcoin pullback, headlines start popping up about a new variant of the Wu flu, Omicron. As we seen on Black Friday, Bitcoin as well as most risk assets dropped significantly. The airline stocks felt most the pain, dropping nearly 12% as flights to the most affected areas were banned. The question we as traders need to ask ourselves is simple. Did Bitcoin investors already see this coming, as the markets have an uncanny ability to see into the future by at least a week or two? Over the last few weeks, we have been watching Bitcoin as it made an ascent into new all-time highs. We were watching this pitchfork which held Bitcoin's slope really well. As it took out the old all-time highs, we were looking for Bitcoin to take off, making higher highs and higher lows, squeezing those shorts into oblivion as Bitcoin soared to the moon. But that's not what happened. Instead, what happened is the buying dried up and Bitcoin started making similar price action that it did back in April, making a new and significant high, then pulling back deeper. And yesterday on Black Friday, we lost that bullish slope amidst the news of the new variant. I myself have been preparing to see some risk off, as I explained in last week's vid. I'll put a link in the description for anybody who would like to go check that out. Basically, since the Fed announced taper and we got the inflation print that was the highest it's been in over 20 years, this prompted me to start to position myself for the possible move lower. And you can see that Bitcoin has been struggling to make that new parabolic push higher. I need to preface this by saying from the highs, Bitcoin is only down 20%, and anybody that's been participating in this market longer than a year or two will know that a 20% pullback for Bitcoin is really nothing. It's been struggling to go higher though. Why is this? Well, it's simple really. Supply and demand. It's what moves price. Models don't, technical analysis doesn't, literal buyers and sellers does. If you do not have demand that outweighs supply, then price will not be able to push higher. If we look back at price action in April, we can clearly see that 60K appears to be the spot where demand just dries up. Back then, it was only able to close 3 daily bullish candles above that price before it then rolled over, losing 50%. That area that it found support at is where we know that there was a ton of demand. MicroStrategy and Tesla were both responsible for the demand. MicroStrategy with 3.16 billion with a cost basis of $27,000 and Tesla 1.3 billion with a cost basis of $32K. The B-Word podcast caused new demand at a daily support at $30,407 that was put in on January the 27th. After that podcast, there was enough demand to push price back to the 60K mark. Now this bullish trend is easy to see with this trend line, and as you can see, it's done a really good job of creating demand since the first Wu flu sell-off back in March 2020. Now, as far as supply is concerned, it's easy to see on the weekly and 2-week charts. On the weekly chart, you can see you never got closes above the 60K area in the months of March through May. On this bullish push, however, we did. On the weekly, we had 5 weeks that closed above 60K, and also 2 of those weeks were responsible for making 2 new all-time highs. The problem with those 5 weekly closes is the range. Price just could not get going. Then the sell-off occurred. As you can see, there is just no demand above 60K at this point in time. If you're looking for bullish continuation, I think you could make it a whole lot easier on yourself if you only look at weekly candles, as not to get aggressive in the wrong places. Currently, we are holding at a daily support at $53,797, but with this news of the variant, everything could change. Also, if this news dominates the weekend, I could see Bitcoin testing the old 2-week supply zone that is at $49,129. For the bullish case, Bitcoin needs to hold that price as well as that trend line, because if it doesn't, in my humble opinion, there are a multitude of scenarios that could cause this marketplace to see some intense selling pressure. Without heavy demand propping it up, well, you know what'll happen. All of those scenarios I have already spoken of, except the 4-year cycle model calling the top in December. Now, though this news can cause negative sentiment, it's important to see the bigger picture. Although Friday looked dreary in the market, it's not down huge. And looking at the monthly chart, this November candle looks more like a pullback than a crash, so all hope is not gone. Moving forward, we will have to monitor this new strain, and what we don't want to see is more government intervention by closing down nations again, as with the supply constraints we are currently seeing from the first shutdown, a second one would crush the markets, all of them. And with this new inflation print, well, to put it simple, printer, no go burr anymore. In full disclosure, I did take a long last night just because it was a 3-day close, and I expected a small small bounce. That play has already happened because I took profits and moved my stop. I am long-term bullish on Bitcoin. If this news does end up being the market killer, I will be shorting the inverse swap contract to accumulate more Bitcoin for the next few bull market phases, 10 to 15 years down the road. So in closing, the level that we are watching is the $49,121 2-week support and the trend line. The daily 200 EMA also comes in around that area as well. There are helpful links down in the description of this video. Make sure you guys trade safe, trade smart, and as always, happy trading, everybody.